Brexit talks with the EU are reaching a crucial stage, and while Downing Street remains cautious, there has been increasing speculation that a deal between the two sides may be imminent. The EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, said details must be agreed by the end of today, with the deadline looming of the EU summit in Brussels in 2 days' time. Here's our political editor, Laura Kunsberg.
A tired rub of the eyes. How much longer? While the politicians are still turning up, there is a chance of a deal.
The talks are ongoing. We need to give them space to proceed, but detailed conversations are underway and a deal is still very possible.
The DUP were in Downing Street last night. Are they on board?
Impossible to know now, though, who will be on board, because a possible agreement with compromises and concessions has not been done. So if the EU's negotiator looks exhausted by the process, he's probably not the only one.
Even if the agreement will be difficult, more and more difficult, to be frank, it's still possible this week.
How many ways can you say it's hard? You'll have to wait and see.
Reaching an agreement is still possible. Obviously, any agreement must work for everyone.
The EU-UK standoff is over. The conversations are real about finding a solution to solve the conundrum that centres on managing the Irish border, when after Brexit, one side would be in the EU and one side will be out.
The initial indications are that we're making progress, that the negotiations are moving in the right direction, but whether we'll be able to conclude a revised withdrawal agreement, which after all is an international treaty, in time for the summit on Thursday, that's as of now unclear.
Are you optimistic about a deal, Prime Minister?
Can you get an agreement by tonight, Prime Minister?
Will there be a deal tonight?
The Prime Minister might be good at the meet and greet. Today, the chief of NATO was the recipient of the Johnson grip and grin.
The diplomacy is about the black and white detail, not just the big, colourful brushstrokes. And Boris Johnson is up against not just the contradictions of Brexit, but two deadlines. One, the vital meeting of EU leaders this week, and his own self-imposed promise of getting us out of the European Union, whatever happens at the end of this month. And all of that with allies on all sides to keep sweet.
Brexiteers visiting Number 10 this afternoon aren't the only ones who might have the numbers to crash any agreement that emerges. A deal they're waiting for could just about be concluded in the next few days.
It's a very constructive conversation, and that I am optimistic that it is possible to reach a tolerable deal, which I'll be able to vote for.
Tolerable to the DUP too? With talk of concessions over the Irish border, could the Prime Minister really keep his Northern Irish allies on board tonight?
Hopeful of a deal? You're going to back the PM?
What's important is that we stick with our principles, that we want to get a deal, but it has to be a deal that respects the economic and constitutional integrity of the United Kingdom, and that means all of the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland included.
Negotiators are likely to work long into the evening. Whether a deal can be reached by tomorrow is just not known. It's not yes or no yet, but definitely a maybe tonight. Laura Kunsberg, BBC News, Westminster.
Well, our Europe editor, Katya Adler, joins us now from Paris. And Katya, what are you hearing from the EU end?
Well, Rita, this is, let's just think, quite a moment after 3 years of Brexit process. A new Brexit deal is being hammered out as we speak behind closed doors. What we don't know, though, now is whether we are close to a deal or just closer to a deal, Rita. The advice in the EU is for cautious optimism. And just before speaking to you, I received a call from a contact very close to negotiations who said, do not expect any big announcement tonight. Of course, with so much tension, journalists like myself, like Laura, anyone who's been following the Brexit process so closely has been in and out of background briefings and glued to our phone for any whiff of news. And I can tell you who else has been glued to their phones, especially tonight, and that's EU leaders, whether it's Angela Merkel or it's Emmanuel Macron, Boris Johnson as well. They are not in these negotiations at the moment. They're being carried out at technical level, trying to turn political ideas into legal text. Now, if those negotiators are able to do that, we will see that text tomorrow. It'll be passed on to all EU leaders, which for the moment still includes Boris Johnson, for consideration ahead of what promises to be quite a summit when all the leaders come to Brussels on Thursday. But the EU says it won't be time pressured into Boris Johnson's timetable. If the text isn't ready, so be it. They say they're open for talks after the summit if the Prime Minister wants.
Katya, many thanks.